Right now, in 2021, it is one of the top ways in which estate agents are actually selling properties. And yes, you heard me quite right. It's not necessarily the auction houses because it's not a traditional auction. Welcome to the Premier Property Live Q&A. We do this every single week. My name is Cam Devadi. If you're joining me for the first time, I'm an investor developer over the last 30 years. And as we're investing and developing right now, I also like to help people like yourself to move forward in the property journey. And every week I'm answering questions. These are live on Facebook. You're probably watching this right now. And you might be watching this on YouTube. If you're watching this right now on YouTube, well, welcome. And do feel free to subscribe to our channel. And I'm going to answer questions for you right now. These questions are from our Premier Property Inner Circle community, people that are really working on it when it comes to property investing, building their futures. And the first question I'm going to share with you here is from Palashi. Palashi is asking all around a question about a new way of property buying. And she's saying that she's come across a property that's being sold for $200,000 in January, but now the vendor has reduced it. However, it's being sold through a different buying process. And the buying process that Palashi has actually mentioned, maybe without realizing, is the new method of auction buying process. Now, right now in 2021, it is one of the top ways in which estate agents are actually selling properties. And yes, you heard me quite right. It's not necessarily the auction houses because it's not a traditional auction. So let me explain how this works if this is new for you. So first of all, at the front end, what you've got is the actual auctioneer, and what the auctioneer is doing is the modern method of auction, which I'll explain what that means. And on the back end, you have the estate agent who's actually selling the property. And really what this is, in a nutshell, is a collaboration between the estate agent and the auction company. So the auction company markets the property, the estate agent on the back end of this locally is actually doing the viewings and the paperwork, etc. So how is the modern method of auction different from the traditional auctions? Well, with the modern method of auction, what you'll find is that when the gavel goes down, when the hammer goes down in a traditional auction, you have a legally binding exchange contract, where you have that legally binding contract, like what I say. However, if you're like me, you love the modern method of auctions as well, because in the modern method of auction, what you'll find is there is no legally binding contract. There's simply a fee that you pay in advance. And in Palashi's case, that amounts to, including VAT, because there is VAT involved in this, 5154 is the amount, including VAT, in this instance, that Palashi is paying. So once you pay the fee, what happens is that there is not a exchange of contracts. It is actually a sale agreed. However, the auction company and the estate agent agree not to market that property to anybody else until you've actually got to the process of exchange and then complete on that property. So it is more like a sale agreed. That's what it is, and it mimics the auction process. So Palashi, that's what you have here. Another question that Palashi is asking, the second question part of this is, what are the things that you need to be aware of, and what happens if the searches don't come through properly and they're not correct? Well, Palashi, as it's mimicking the auction process, what you'll find is that you will have all the documents that are going to be presented in a pack ready for you. So the legal pack, as it's known, is presented to you in advance. So it's different from the normal buying process where you go ahead and go and do the searches and then get the contracts and so on. All of this is available for you right at the beginning so that you can decide to make an informed decision. Now, if there are documents missing, well, then that's something to be looking out for, which leads me on to your next part of your question, which is, what should you look out for? Well, first of all, make sure that you've got all the documents that are required to make sure that it's a quality, legally binding contract where you're happy with what you're getting. That your solicitor, your conveyancing solicitor, will go through that with you, and we always get it checked all the way through to make sure everything is right. In fact, one of my favourite methods of buying this year is actually the modern method of auction, because what it does is it speeds up the timeline, and you got that confirmed sale. So it's a great way of actually assessing properties and buying properties. So hope that helps you with your answers there. And the final question, of the third part of your question there, Plashi, you're asking is what do you do? What do you do if how do you actually have the belts and braces approach? Using your words, what are the things we need to be wary of if we buy through this process? Well, I mentioned the searches. So we want to make sure, we always make sure at Premier, that the legal search, the searches in terms of the environmental search, that's okay. So it's not in a flood risk area, for example. Also, if it's in a mining area, you want to make sure there aren't any mines within, or mine shafts even, within 25 meters of that property. Another thing to be checking in on. In the documentation, we will check for any restrictions on the property, things that you're not allowed to do, and any covenants on the property as well. These might be long-standing. For example, you can't build on that land. So these are other types of clauses that you want to be also aware of. A big one is overage clauses. So clauses where the sellers have put in, especially if you're developing, let's say, where the seller has put in that if you build something, they will typically have a share of the profit. So these are things that you want to be aware of. So thank you very much for that question. We got very detailed there, didn't we? So hopefully you're writing all this down, you're making notes, and if you're not part of our community on YouTube at Premier Property, then come along. What are we waiting for? Feel free to just press that bell icon, click on there, and you can also subscribe to our channel by pressing that subscribe icon. I'm sure you've heard that before. Feel free to join us, and I'm doing this every week. And if you've got any questions, just type them in, and I'll do my best to answer them, right? Because obviously Q&A works with questions, and we've got quite a few of them here right now, and we're doing this every week. Next question is from Jason. So Jason Joyce, one of our Premier Property Inner Circle members, literally is asking the question, and I'm going to jump to the, is written lovely. Jason is brilliant. Look at all that. It's brilliant. And every week, more or less, Jason is asking questions, which is really good. Yeah. So thank you for your actionable question asking there, Jason. So let's move forward with this one. And the question being asked is, in a nutshell, Jason is trying to get the balance right between keeping everyone happy and saving a couple of months on the mortgage. So he's asking, should he exchange? Is he going to lose time with his mortgage? Will he be paying more mortgage payments? How does he do it? Should he wait? Should he wait near the time where he's got builders lined up and so on? That's one of his concerns. Well, the thing is, Jason, the way we do this at Premier Property is exchange and completion don't necessarily have to be simultaneous. So you can exchange on a property. Now, you may or may not be aware of this. What that means is you pay 10%, right? You typically pay 10%. So you're paying 10% deposit, and at that point, you have a legally binding contract. However, it's only at the completion point when the legal title passes to you, and your company or your name is registered at the land registry saying that it's your property. And between this exchange and completion, there is a gap that you can create. Now, this can be a time frame of, like I say, simultaneous, so it happens immediately. It could be 2 weeks. If you're like us, you could ask for 6 weeks. You could also ask for 9 months or even 12 months. So at Premier, we've done all of these, by the way, and you can do these too if you're not already doing them. So, Jason, you can exchange. You can buy some time by having a completion that is a little bit later. Extremely accepted is 2 weeks. Manageable is 4 to 6 weeks. And a bit of an ask is anything more, so 2 months, 3 months. So what we do is we factor in the time scale. We factor in that we will exchange. We will complete, let's say, in 4 weeks. And between exchange and completion, you have not got a mortgage, because remember, at exchange, you're only paying a deposit. It's only at completion when your lender's funds are drawn down, and at that point is when your mortgage payments start. So if you can marry up exchange with a gap in the middle to completion, and you create that timeline in between, you have the flexibility to be finding builders, to getting your ducks in a row. So enjoy. You can absolutely do this. It's a great way of being a momentum property investor, meaning you can do more than one deal and you're doing deals in a wise manner. Now, there's a number of things that you can be doing between exchange and completion, something that I'll cover on another video with yourselves on this YouTube channel. And of course, if you haven't subscribed, you can do that right now and join. Just click on that bell icon to get the latest videos that we're doing every single week. So Jason, hope that helps with that one. Gives you a little bit of peace of mind there. Loving what you're doing, jumping in and buying property. So that was Jason. And our third and final question for today is a question being asked by Nick. Nick saying, hi Cam, just come across a selective licensing when doing my due diligence on a property. Okay. What are people's experience of renting out properties in a selective licensing area? Good and bad, please. Okay, so selective licensing. Now, in my experience with selective licensing, there's a couple of ways this works. It works for buy-to-lets, and sometimes you have selective licensing for HMOs in areas. Now, for the buy-to-lets, selective licensing is fine, as long as you do the works that are required. That's great. You have a nice. What will happen is the council will typically come and view what you're doing to get that selective license. So they're there, and you will end up with a good refurbished property. The downside is they can really decide what has to be done. So their input is usually valuable. It means that you got to go with whatever the officer says. So there is a little bit of that going on. So you haven't got the flexibility and freedom of just doing what you want to be doing. You got to be going in with what the council are actually wanting for that selective licensing area. For example, you may or may not decide to put in loft installation into a single story back extension kitchen. However, in my experience, when we're doing refurbs like this, where it's in selective licensing buy-to-let areas, the council officer will come in and say, well, actually, you do need to do that. So you've gone above and beyond what you would have done anyway. However, in the long run, it helps because it keeps the EPC ratings higher. It keeps the costs down in terms of the heating for the tenants, and you've got a happier tenant that stays there longer. So there is that. So it's a kind of a balance that you've got to decide. But with selective license, you don't really have a choice. You've just got to do these things that the council officers will require. And there's some paper form filling exercise. So that's a bit of a downside, takes a bit more time. And also, you typically have to fork out £500 to £750 to be on the selective licensing scheme. So there's some of the downsides. Positives, well, first of all, it's only going to attract good landlords, good tenants, and it really does increase the values of the areas because the areas are being updated and brought up, if that makes sense. So there's my view on those ones, and I'm hoping you're enjoying these weekly Q&As. I'll keep doing these as long as you want me to do these. So if you do have any questions, feel free to bring it along. You can join our Premier Property community on Facebook as well, by the way, if you haven't already. So just check in on Premier Property Facebook community, put that in the search bar, and we will see you, we'll invite you in, and you can be part of the team. And also here, feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. It's Cam Devady helping you to take your property investing to the next level. I'll see you here next week. See you later.